So I have been dreading making this video. We are about to reveal the 10 biggest mistakes that we've ever made since buying our boat 7 years ago. And if you stick with us to the end of the video, I'm going to reveal something that I've never ever spoken about on this channel before. And it does involve a boating accident, a tragic boating accident that ended with someone dying.
One look in your eyes and I find it. When you leave in my mind I rewind it. When you got it this good, you don't fight it.
So you know, some cabinets on our boat have good locks and other ones don't have good locks. Well, one of our biggest mistakes, costly mistake or an annoying mistake.
It was a mess.
We were crossing the Gulf Stream, and the weather wasn't going to be terrible. We had slight north winds, which you really shouldn't go in the Gulf Stream under north winds, but they were like 1 to 5 knots. It wasn't very strong. They were calling for 1 to 3 foot seas, so we figured, okay, well, we'll go. Now, we know better. We've had incidents where, people have thrown big wakes at us and, our cabinets open and liquor falls out. And so we know to secure our cabinets, but we didn't think it was going to be that bad of weather, so we secured the alcohol cabinets, but we did not secure our dishes and things like that. And, well, it would not have been a big problem, except it wasn't 1 to 3 foot seas. It was really steady 5-6 footers. And then, all of a sudden, we lost an engine. Now, by the water churning up our tanks, I guess we got some algae into our rake oars, and I have spare rake oars, so I can get the switch done pretty quick. Maybe within a couple of minutes, I got fuel coming from another tank. But in that couple of minutes where we had one engine out, we get hit by an 8-footer on the beam. And our stabilizers are off, by the way, because that engine's the one that powers the stabilizers. So we take an 8-footer, we rock sideways all the way back up.
God.
Every cabinet opens. We lose all of our stemware, all of it's destroyed, everything's off the counters, the chairs have fallen over.
The bird flipped over.
The bird flips over.
It was a mess.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how I want to classify this a mistake of taking the Gulf Stream in a north wind, or is it...
That's what I would say, no north winds whatsoever.
Not securing the cabinets is what we really did.
Some of the cabinets have locks, they're just not super duper good locks.
Yeah, they're good for little bumps, but not an 8-footer on the beam. Yeah, not all of a sudden when we're basically dead in the water and I'm trying to change over a rake oar.
Yeah, you and Joey and...
So it was a costly one, and in fact, we haven't even replaced all the stemware yet, so we still have to get on that. Did you ever try to leave a slip in a marina and not have all of your lines untied from the dock? Well, we did once. We were leaving a marina, and we had untied the 4 lines that we always tie, the bow, the stern, the 2 spring lines, and backed up, and then realized there was a second bow line tied port over to the port side of the boat. And as I'm backing up, I feel it pull the bow. Right towards the port side of me is this beautiful, expensive boat. And
not the ones you want to hit.
Yeah, no, definitely not the ones you want to hit. Yeah.
So when I'm on the bow, I feel the sudden tug. So I look around the boat, I see that the bow line's still tied to the boat, and there was no time to mess around. So what I did is I just grabbed that real quick, untied it from the boat, and just threw it on the dock.
Yeah. So we learned a valuable lesson that day. It's like, even if we think we've untied all the lines that we've tied, I still walk all the way around the boat, and you just never know. And this wasn't the dockhand's fault. He thought he was doing a good thing, and probably he was.
Probably was.
But I wasn't doing a good thing when I left the slip, because I did not walk all the way around and check everything. So,
kind of my fault too. I mean, I'm the line girl.
But we got lucky, though. She got that line off just in time. I reversed it, high speed back, just missed that boat and got out of the marina. So, well,
very closely.
Lesson learned. So a few years back, we were going down the Pungo Alligator Canal on our way from Philadelphia down to Florida.
Beautiful place.
And we were stuck behind a barge, and this barge is just crawling along. And I said, well, I'm going to pass this barge. It's a narrow canal, but there was a spot where there was some room there. So I hailed the barge, and I say, hey, I'm going to pass you on the port side. And so I go to port side, and I start accelerating. and I'm expecting he'll move over a little bit, or maybe he'll slow down, and no, nothing. And I'm moving and I'm running out of room, and I know it's going to get a little bit narrower up front, and all of a sudden, ran right around.
Yeah.
Just came to a stop right in the mud, fortunately.
Yeah.
So I threw it in reverse right away and backed out, and it was fine. We were able to back out.
Yes.
However, when we started to continue the trip, we had a knocking now.
Yeah.
And well, long story short, what happened was when I threw it in reverse real hard, the cutlass bearing shot out of the strut in the back. So our shaft was able to jiggle a little bit, which was causing the sound.
Vibration and everything.
The problem was, well, first of all, I should never have tried to cut it that close and trying to pass somebody. The other thing was, I was hailing a commercial ship on the wrong channel. So
we learned that.
Yeah, so
we learned the right channel.
He never even heard me hailing him, I assume. But well, anyway, I'm much more careful about things like that now. We ended up getting the strut replaced. The cutlass bearing replaced into the strut, and we actually were fortunate in that we were able to get to a marina not far from there. We had a diver go down, and he put it back in, and he said it was going to be loose and come in and out. So what we did was we put zincs blocking it so that it could not slide out. It was just a temporary repair.
It's a temporary Band-Aid.
But it got us to Florida, where we were able to have the boat hold out, and then we replaced all of the cutlass bearings and did a whole bunch of other work too. But that was a lesson learned as well. Well, back when we were in Philadelphia, and before we sold our Carver, we used to keep our boats over at Penn's Landing for the summer, and then we would bring them into Pier 5 for the winter. Well, we were taking the Carver over to Pier 5. It's only about maybe a half mile between these marinas. Yeah. So I get into the Carver, and I look at the fuel gauge, and it says 8th tank. I'm thinking, well, 8th tank, I'm only going a half a mile. I mean, how much fuel can it use? Well, apparently enough, because I got to within 100 yards of that marina, and we ran out of fuel on the port engine.
Yeah.
Ran out of fuel. And unfortunately, the way the Carver's set up, the fuel tank, that engine has to get fuel from its tank. It can't cross it over to the other tank.
Yeah, there's no
So there was
share.
no way for me to send it fuel. I'm heading towards this marina, and I have one engine now. And it's not real easy to control a 40-foot boat with one engine. No bow thrusters, no stern thrusters, anything like that.
It's lighter in the water, too.
Yeah.
It was a wavy day.
The Hatteras is a little bit easier. The engines are further apart. But it was embarrassing. Nothing went wrong. Nobody got hurt. I was able to maneuver it slowly until I got it to the bulkhead at the marina, and then some of my buddies came by and they helped me kind of walk it around. And we basically walked it into this marina. And once we got it in there, my friend helped pull it into a slip, and all's well that ended well. But nothing was hurt but my pride. So I never let anything get even close to an eighth of a tank. Especially on the big boat. The Carver, we never ran it that low, but
no, we didn't.
Well, whatever. I'm not doing that again.
That's not happening again, because I will kill you.
I was thinking the funny thing about this 10 biggest mistakes list, 3 of them happened last year. So I don't know if I'm getting worse at being a captain or I'm getting better, who knows. But one big mistake we made was we were starting our trip. First day, we're heading out, we're going to go to the Bahamas, we got our friends on board, everything's good, we're provisioned.
We're psyched, we're ready to roll.
I back out of the slip at Titusville Marina, and then I go to make my turn, and my transmission is stuck. I got nothing. I got no speed control. I've got no reverse. I got no forward. I have nothing, and I'm just floating there in the fairway. And what had happened was the transmission got stuck, and I guess it just needed to be oiled up or whatever. That was my thinking at the time. But by the time I figured this out and I got it unstuck, some friends at the marina had pulled us to the side, and we had the boat secured on one of the T-heads. And, I oiled it all up and all that. And I guess the big mistake was I was not checking the transmission before leaving slips. I mean, I guess I never really thought of it before. It's never been an issue.
But now we do.
Yeah. Now it's a lesson learned. So now every time I leave a marina or before I do anything, I check to make sure the transmission's going in and out of gear and the throttles and everything are good and working. And so anyway, I oiled up the shifter on the transmission. I thought everything was perfectly good.
Yeah, we did.
And it was for about 2 months until our next big mistake. We were heading into Bayou Mar Marina in Fort Lauderdale.
Where all the mega yachts are.
Yeah, it's a big fancy marina with mega yachts, and it's gorgeous, and it's just really cool. We're heading in there, and just when I'm heading down the fairway, getting ready to turn, get my slip, I have no transmission control again. Same exact thing happened to me again. And fortunately, we figured it out just before we were heading right towards this mega yacht. And just before, just before we were about to hit it, we had dropped the anchor.
You had me drop the anchor.
Yeah, and they dropped the anchor just in time because we were just about to hit the boat, and the anchor chain stopped us, and then it kind of pulled us backwards.
Yeah,
and
that was...
By then, I remembered what had happened to us in Titusville,
yes.
And I went down to the engine room, and I unjammed the transmission real quickly. Because what happens on these electronic transmissions is when anything goes wrong, they completely shut down. That way, they're not flying you into reverse or forward or something like that. So it immediately will basically go to neutral. It'll kill all the power and that's it. So apparently I had not did what I should have done. After this happened, I oiled. Not only did I oil up the shifter, this time I oiled up the cables and put grease on the gears and everything I probably should have done the first time.
Resecured the clamps.
Yeah, I mean this time I kind of so hopefully it's fixed forever now, but. So that was a double mistake there. The mistake was not checking the transmission back at Titusville and then thinking I had it all fixed just because it didn't happen for another 2 months when I really should have, did a deep dive cleaning on this stuff, and hopefully we got it now. We'll see. If not, it'll be number 11 in next year's list.
Right. I did want to say, with that too, we were trying to get the attention of the mega yacht that we were about to hit. And we were doing everything, and we just totally forgot about our horn because you're in such a panic mode.
Yeah. We were hailing on the radio. We were doing things like that. But you're supposed to do 5 blasts on the horn. I should know better. I'm a licensed captain. But in the panic of trying to get the boat under control, you make mistakes.
Because we did not want to hit that mega.
Yeah. So it all ended well. So not a big deal. But a lesson learned again, right? One time we were anchored in Biscayne Bay. Mm-hmm. We were on our way to Key West. We anchored in Biscayne Bay, and we have our routine where we drop the anchor and then we set the anchor alarms and it's just kind of. Anyway, I dropped the anchor. Everything's good. We set it. Cool. My phone rings, and it's my mother. So of course I answer the phone. I get on the phone. I'm talking with my mom. Next thing I know, it's like, we're talking, must have been 20 minutes, a half hour. I hang up the phone and I look up and I realize we're not where I anchored. We had blown it sideways and we were aground. We had gone aground right in Biscayne Bay, and it wasn't like we were deeply aground, but I couldn't get off. I kept reversing it and forward, and I got myself stuck. And long story short, I had to get towed off. And, okay, that's a mistake, but the bigger part of this mistake was I told Lynn, I said, hey, give me the number for the tow company. We're going to get a towboat to tow us off of this.
And I don't even know where to start here because he didn't specify what tow company, so I just grabbed one that was taped in.
And honestly, I didn't even give it a thought. We're insured through Boat US, so we have towing insurance through Boat US. You called Sea-Tow, right?
I called Sea-Tow.
We were just not thinking that my insurance would only cover one of the tow companies.
You have a specific tow company that is on your insurance that you have to call.
Well, we do because we're insured through Boat US.
Oh, okay. Well, you have a specific tow guy.
Okay. So called the wrong guy, $2,000 mistake. They had to come back at high tide, which happened to be like 1 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. And normally I would have just waited to the next day or something like that, but we had an appointment
to get our boat
at the boat yard. We were getting our boat pulled. I had all these people all scheduled to do all the work that I wanted to get done. I'm like, you know what? We got to get off this shoal and get down to Fort Lauderdale. Mm-hmm. So they came out 2 o'clock in the morning.
With a bigger boat.
Yeah, first they came out with a little boat. I was like, are you kidding me?
I don't think that's going to pull us
So they came out with a big boat at like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and we got pulled off, and $2,000 later, we were in Fort Lauderdale. Another big mistake we made was not getting a firm quote at a boatyard, or at least a reasonable proximity of a firm quote at a boatyard before having work done. And we did a video on this a few years back where we had a hose, a exhaust hose that was deteriorating on our boat. And we did a temporary fix in Key West and got ourselves down to Fort Lauderdale to get it fixed. However, when we got there, it took these guys days. We were on the hard for a week. It's just a hose, you know. I mean, it's a big hose.
That's because they were coming in for like 20 minutes.
It was drug out, and I think they had it planned the whole time, because when I talked to the yard, it's like they already had it scheduled to be there for a week. This was a day job, maybe 2 days at most. And well, anyway, changing this rubber hose ended up costing us $8,000. Just because of all the time we spent on the hard and all that. And I could have done it myself. It was just one of those things I didn't feel like doing. And we wanted to get the boat pulled and do some touch up on the bottom paint and things like that anyway.
Plus we had to be at a certain place because we were flying back for our niece's wedding.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. We were in a we were also in a hurry, because we had plane tickets already and we were flying up to Boston for a wedding. And, well, anyway, we didn't make that flight because we were stuck on the hard for a week. But for these guys to get the job done, we ended up having to get other plane tickets and all that. Anyway, be careful. We've had some very good experience in boat yards, but we've also had some bad experiences. You know, we've had overcharge like this, or I feel is overcharge. People, they fixing things incorrectly, forgetting to put gaskets on. Be careful when you're in boat yards. Watch everything. Get quotes. Make sure that the people are doing things correctly.
I bet you have some good stories of boat yards. I like to hear them.
Yeah. You can let us. Yeah, you can let us know. I mean, like I said, I've had good and I've had bad. I've had some fantastic experiences, and I've had a couple of bad ones. And well, I guess that's life, right? Okay, well, we were leaving Myrtle Beach and we're headed north up to Philly a few years back, and we pulled out of the Little River Inlet, which is not a particularly difficult inlet. There's some shallow areas you got to be careful, kind of zigging your way out. We get out there, and I'm looking at my chart, and I see, it looks like I got 12 feet. I'm not quite at the last marker yet. I'm like one in, but I go, I got 12 feet. So, I head to port, start heading north. I'm going to go up to Moorhead, I think we were heading to. No sooner do I start heading north, and bam, I hit something.
Hard. Yeah,
the port engine stops completely. Or was it the starboard? I don't remember. One of them just completely stops. Whatever I hit was strong enough to stop an V92 engine. And that was it. We were out in the ocean. And we were deciding, should we turn around and go back? But, there was kind of a little bit of a zigzaggy inlet. I'm like, you know what? Let's just run on one engine. We'll go all the way up to, I guess we went to Southport is where we went. We went to Zimmerman's, and we had Zimmerman's, take care of this problem for us. Now, here's what my mistake was. I had accidentally put the wrong numbers in Navionics. Now, when you set up Navionics or any plotter for that reason, you tell them the depth of your boat, how your draft, so that it knows to have an offset, so that you know where the real bottom of the water is compared to the bottom of your boat. I did it
so that doesn't happen.
So this doesn't happen. I did it in reverse. I didn't have 12 feet of water underneath me. I had 6, maybe 7 feet. I have a 5-foot draft, and there were waves. So apparently we went up, came down on a boulder.
Oh, yeah, the rocks.
It just wrecked our prop, and it bent our shaft. And, anyway, luckily for us, I had a spare shaft and a spare prop on board, so we were able to get, Zimmerman really took care of us. They got us back on the water the following morning. We were out of there, so we got lucky there. But the lesson is, make sure you have your charts set properly. And if you're not sure, take a tape measure or a stick and double check everything, because I'll tell you, it just took me completely by surprise. And I can also tell you, since then, I very, very rarely will I cut off a marker leaving an inlet. I usually go to the last one.
Yes, because that's what we were doing. We cut off. We cut off early when we were exiting.
Had I gone to the last marker, I would have had plenty of depth. So anyway, I'm much more careful about doing that now. So the biggest mistake we've ever made on this boat was hitting an island.
So far, you mean?
Yeah, so far, yeah. At the time, I'm still young. Yeah, we actually hit an island, and what happened was, actually, for this mistake to have taken place, a whole bunch of different things had to happen to cause it. But in short, in the middle of the night, our anchor drug. We were anchored windward of an island that had basically these coral cliffs around it. We were woken up in the middle of the night, smashing sideways against a coral cliff, basically.
Yeah,
I wish
loud.
I had footage to show you, but it was pitch black out. So we were able to get ourselves off of this island with the help of our friends and a little bit of luck and getting the engine started right away. We did get ourselves off the island, and fortunately we're in a Hatteras, so I think that island was sorry we hit it, because there was next to no damage whatsoever to our boat, other than a leaking sea chest. Which was flooding the boat. That was a whole thing. You have to watch the video. There was a lot of things that went on. So a whole bunch of different things actually had to happen in order for us to hit this island. And some of them were definitely my fault. Right. Now, like I said, the anchor drug, one reason for that was I was using the wrong type of anchor for where I was at, and I should have known better. I was using the
Danforth.
The Fortress Danforth, which is not the type of anchor I should have been using at this island where I was anchored. The other thing that caused this to go wrong was we believe a squall must have come through in the middle of the night, because it was just calling for 5-knot winds. This was going to be a calm night at anchor. So we think some kind of a storm must have came and got our anchor out. We were sleeping at the time, which is why we don't know. This happened at 2 o'clock in the morning. The other thing is, when the anchor was dragging, usually when an anchor drags, you can feel it. It'll go clunk, clunk. It'll keep trying to dig or something. So we think that
sound.
We think it might have grabbed a piece of carpet or something, because earlier in that evening when we were trying to set the anchor, we had saw a little piece of carpet. Well, anyway, so that didn't happen. We had 2 anchor alarms set on the boat. Both of them were on phones. One was my phone, it lost GPS signal. One was on another person's phone, and their battery died. So we lost 2 anchor alarms.
Right.
Definitely my fault there. I shouldn't have been counting on my phone as an anchor alarm, and since then we've been using our AIS system for an anchor alarm. So we have a wrong anchor. The anchor is dragging without making noise. A squall comes through. Both of our phone anchor alarms don't work, and it happened between watches, because when we anchor at night, Lynn and I take turns getting up maybe every hour, 2 hours, walk around, check things, and it happened in between those areas. So anyway, we end up hitting this wall. We're taking on water. We figured that out. It turns out we were sinking ourselves. It was our air conditioning, the sea chest that lets our air conditioning pump exit the boat had popped off into the boat, and we were sinking ourselves by flooding our own boat with our air conditioning system, which we discovered when we turned off the generator, because the generator room was starting to flood. I turned off the generator, and all of a sudden the water started going down. The bilge pumps were keeping up, because apparently the air conditioner pump can pump faster than the bilge pumps can get the water out of the boat.
That is the truth. That was scary.
Well, glad I got that off my chest. Yes, those 10 biggest mistakes I've ever made captaining this boat. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of this video that I was going to talk about something, or I was going to reveal something that had to do with a boating mistake that I've never talked about before on this channel. And that is a mistake made by my younger brother, John, who was boating in the Delaware River. He had a small speedboat, I think it was a Wellcraft or something like that, maybe a 20-footer. He was boating alone, not wearing a life jacket. And he got caught up behind the wake of a tugboat. He went over the side and drowned. He went under. And we found his body 30 days later, about 12 miles downstream. And I mention this because boating can be wonderful, but it can be dangerous too, and you got to be careful. You know, we have very strict rules on our boat when it comes to things like life jackets and safety in general. But one of the things that one of the main rules we have is that if our boat's underway If you're inside the boat, it doesn't really matter. You can't fall off my boat if you're on the inside, unless you go smashing through a window or something. But if we're underway, no one is allowed to go out on the bow of my boat unless they're with a buddy. It's going to be the buddy system. If someone's going on the bow of the boat and I'm underway, you need to take somebody with you just to make sure if something goes wrong, there's somebody to alert me or somebody to assist you. Now, if we're underway and the weather is not good, you can still go out there with a buddy, but you're wearing life jackets. Now, and if the weather is, reasonably bad, if we're getting 4 or 5 footers, you're not allowed to go on the bow of my boat at all, whether you're wearing a life jacket or not. It's because it's the only place you can fall off my boat. Even the fly bridge, you really are not going to fall off of there either. But if you're on the bow of the boat and something rocks or, I don't know, I've got obviously reasons. I want people to be safe when they're out there. Now, there are some exceptions. If I'm going at idle speed, we're in the ICW, we're heading towards a marina. Lynn will go out there on her own to set her lines, but she will never leave the interior of the boat, and nobody is ever allowed to leave the interior of the boat without me knowing they're leaving it. If you're going to the bow and she's going to do something, I must know, because then I'll stand up on the fly bridge and I will watch.
And now we have the marriage savers too.
Yeah, so that definitely helps. So when it's just Lynn, the marriage savers are there. Now we do have a tender that we take out, and the rules would apply there too. I mean, if you're on the tender, if it's just me, I'm wearing a life jacket. Now, if it's me and Lynn, or me and Lynn and another couple or something like that, we have life jackets with us on the floor at our feet. We don't require anyone to wear them when there's a group of us and there's people that can help.
They're always on the tender, because if you're testing and it's common water, just to give the tender a run through when we put it down in the water, you're not wearing the vest.
No, but it's at my feet. It's at my feet, and everyone's watching me. We're not boating alone. We're not doing what my brother did. We're not out there on the river all by yourself, not wearing a life jacket with nobody there that can help you if something goes wrong. So anyway, I bring it up because even though it's a mistake that I didn't myself make, it's a mistake that someone I love made. And boating, like I said, it can be wonderful. It's one of the best experiences, one of the best decisions we've ever made was getting a boat for many different reasons. But you need to be safe. You need to think ahead, and you just never know when something can happen out of the blue. Like in my brother's case, a tugboat. It was the wake of a tugboat. He wasn't used to it. He was an experienced boater, but he was a lake boater.
And the lake is different than the river, and the river is different than the ocean.
Yeah. So, anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. Everyone, be safe out there. Hopefully you've learned from some of the mistakes that we just told you we made. So
I'd love to hear some of theirs.
Yeah. Feel free. If you've done anything nearly as dumb as we've done, just let us know in the comments. Until then, like, subscribe, ring the bell.
Cheers.
Yeah, and
Roger out.
Roger out.